How often do you find a song or a project fighting you? So like it's fighting you. You're struggling with it. You got these obstacles that you're just not able to overcome on a particular day. Are you able to put a song on hold and then pick it back up later?
No, not really. I don't think I've really ever experienced what you just talked about. I hear other writers have writer's block, and I've been asked, "Hey, what do you do when you have writer's block?" I've never had it. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's very, very lucky. And that, again, it must go back to just the way you see and hear things, just in an everyday part of your life. Like, just are you able to shut that off? Like, just like uh, there's a movie a few years ago called "What Women Want" with Mel Gibson, and he's hearing
Uh-huh.
all what the women are saying about him and
Right.
stuff, and he's not able to turn that off. Are you able to turn the plasmic bubbles off at will?
No, no,
So it's
no.
always present.
Just yeah, it's just something that I live with, just like someone that has perfect pitch or someone that has asthma. I mean, it's just something I've learned to. I don't think about it. It's just, I really don't. I don't consciously think, oh, here come those bubbles again.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's just something that I've always experienced. So I wouldn't know what it was like to not have that.
Are they more intense at times where you just have to sit and be creative and just kind of let them rule the airwaves or whatever at that time?
No, I don't think so. But again, Boston, I don't really think about it.
It's just part of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. I'm going to ask you something. I've watched probably, I don't know, 10, 12 interviews of yours over the years. I don't think anybody's ever asked you this question, and I hope not, because I really want to get your perspective on this. Really, a very professional perspective, and that's on session players. One thing I noticed in your book is every single moment in your life when you're in the studio and you're recording a song that you created, you know exactly who played on that record. You know
Hmm.
everybody's name. And so I found this very interesting because to me, that would mean that you, as the arranger, as the composer, as the writer of the song, are very invested into who's going to be playing on that song. So
Absolutely.
I want to give these session players their flowers because nobody ever talks about these people, and they're so important to the music industry. How did you choose which session players were going to play on which projects? I imagine this would change over the years.
Yes, because yeah. First off, I revere um, the great musicianship of the guys that play sessions. Probably because I never considered myself good enough.
Right.
If I had, if I had maybe gone to a conservatory and practiced 6 hours a day, I would have been able to play like David Foster or David Page. These guys are most of them uh, have gone to Berkeley or to the great music schools and are great musicians. And I just value that so much because when I bring my song to them, I count on them to give me something that I can't do.
Right.
So, in other words, I'm a piano player. So I don't, so I'll go to a Steve Lukather or Lee Ritenour or any one of the great guitarists that I've gotten to work with, or drummers or bass players. And I count on them to, I'll give them a sketch of what I want them to do, and I'll play them the song, but then I count on them to raise the bar
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not a bass player. I don't think like a bass player. I don't think like a drummer. I don't think like, I know the basics of all these instruments, but these guys are geniuses
Yep.
in what they do. And so the second part of your question, how do I choose? I just choose the best players. And also over a period of time, uh, you 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 create a shorthand relationship uh, with these guys. You know that drummers and bass players that I've been working with, and other keyboard players and guitarists that I've been working with for so many years, they know what I want instinctively. I know what they're going to do. It just, it's almost like mental telepathy. So you get these amazing players in a studio together, and you get the best result.
I haven't been in a
But
studio
I think
environment.
I think there is. You asked about, well, how, what the difference between, let's say, doing a samba or a jazz oriented song as opposed to a country song. Yes, there are certain players that would be better for this song than another song. Not that they're better players,
Right.
but they're just more
A better
suited to
fit.
that.
They're a better fit. I mean, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, I mean, having been in the studio environment over the years myself, one thing I know to be true is these session players, especially the more vocal ones, the more courageous ones, will put their 2 cents on a song, or they'll add a little
Mhm.
wrinkle, or a little riff here, or a note here
Absolutely.
that can
Hmm.
completely change the character of a song.
Sure.
Is that in your mind as you're choosing these session players? Like, do you see a project that you have and you're like, man, player A would be perfect for this because he might be able to add something that I can't as a musician?
Yeah, not so much add to the song, but in the treatment or the arrangement.
Right.
Because I pretty much go in with the song. 99% of what I'm hearing in my head is the way I want it to end up. But every once in a while, there's a happy accident, like, a guitar player will hit something, and I'll go, "Ooh, I love that. Let's
Yeah.
do that again at bar 16." And so yeah, you get those little extra perks from the great players.
Yeah, I definitely wanted your insight on that because Amarillo by Morning, one of the most famous fiddle parts that has ever been heard, was a happy accident. Whoever it was that was playing the fiddle during that session was just noodling, and it ended up on the project. So
There you go.
you just never know. One of the things that I think has ultimately led to a lot of success for you over your career is the fact that you are able to write songs yesterday, so to speak. And this is kind of your specialty, as you put in the book. I would love to hear how you feel being able to come up with something where, whether it's a director or whoever it is that's asking you for a project, and they tell you, yeah, we need this a week ago Monday, and then you're able to give it to them super quick. Whether it's because you don't throw something away or you just, you're very quick or whatever. What did that have to do with your success over time, do you think? Just being able to do
Well,
that quickly?
it really helped in the television and film world because the deadlines are, especially in television, are ridiculous.
Right.
And you do literally have to have something yesterday. They'll call you up and say, um, I need this, I need this, I need this. I'll go, when do you need it? Well, we start filming at 7 in the morning. And that happened with a song I wrote for the movie Michael with John Travolta when he has the angel wings.
Yep.
Uh, there was a scene in that movie where Andy McDowell and John Hurt and John Travolta are sitting around this big uh, table in a restaurant talking about pie, and they all are talking about what kind of pie they want. The director called me one night at about 6 o'clock and said, "I've been shooting this scene all day, and it's not working. I need them to sing." And I said, "Oh, what are they going to sing?" And it was Nora Ephron. It was amazing, the late Nora Ephron,
Mm.
who did Sleepless in Seattle and You've
Yes.
Got Talent. Brilliant, brilliant writer. He said, "I don't know, you haven't written it yet, but I want it to be about pie." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't really like pie, but what kind of pie?" And she said, "I'll leave it to you." And she told me that what the scene was, and I got off the phone. I had a bit of a panic. And I said, Well, when do you need it by? And she said, we start shooting at 7 tomorrow morning. So I had a bit of a panic attack and sat down at the piano and wrote this little 20-second ditty about pie. I call it the pie song. And sure enough, the next day, Andy McDowell ended up singing it in the movie. And so yeah, and especially in TV where you're looking at an episode of Columbo or an episode of Murder She Wrote or Spencer Fire or Growing Pains, any one of the shows that I was blessed to have written the music to, and literally, they're dead. It's like being on a treadmill that never stops. They have to go into post production because they have to make air. They can't call the network and say, "Oh, by the way, we didn't get the music done on time, or the actor had a bad cold, so we're not going to deliver this week's show." There is none of that.
Yeah.
So uh, I I just was lucky enough or skilled enough to never panic. Somehow I always was able to make deadlines.
And so, having read your book, having seen a whole lot of content of you talking to other interviewers, this all started with Every Which Way But Loose, which was
Cool.
again
I was
the
just
night
going to say,
before. Yeah,
yeah,
we need this tomorrow morning. So, I mean, that was your first big break. Really, was kind of writing
yeah,
that song, writing for that entire movie as well. I believe, if I'm not
right.
mistaken. And so you did that very quickly. Do you feel like the reputation that you built just from that very first, this needs to be done yesterday thing? Do you think that made the rounds? Like, oh, we need this tomorrow. Call Steve. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
think I think so. It's funny you mentioned that. Your questions are great, by the way.
thank you.
Um, the It's funny because for a long time, my agent um, Sam Schwartz would when he'd be in production meetings at the various studios, they'd say, "Oh, we need a song, but we need a score, and we need something fast." And he'd say, "There's only one guy to do this, Steve Dorff." So for a while, every pilot I did was getting picked up. So my agents would say, if you want your pilot to get picked up, you better have Steve do the music. Now, of course, they were being facetious somewhat, but it became kind of a little stigma.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I think people knew that my work ethic and the that I delivered on time and there was no flakiness uh,
Yeah.
about it. I think definitely helped.